Honey, miss? I don't want to do it wrong,
Oh, that coffee smells.
doesn't it? I like black coffee.
I do too.
I think I need the energy today. Thank you.
If there is an empty seat next to you, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, so maybe some of these people that are standing around, because I actually only see one empty at the moment. Didn't think there were.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's what the county's for.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're it's $20,000 for the install, and $60 a month for the service.
Oh, really? Oh, all right, because this is with Taylor.
Yeah, so there is a grand pool out.
Let's rock and roll. Crank it up.
He's here.
He's here.
Right there. Wonderful.
You came prepared.
Yeah.
go. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First, let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. Jim, would you do our prayer for us? Yep. No, go ahead and do a prayer for us.
Get this thing. Last time y'all said you couldn't hear me. Okay. Oh, there we go. Is it on yet? All
Yep.
right. Okay. Heavenly Father, I'd like to mention something to you tonight about the tragedy we had here in our county, the loss of one of our police officers, the wounding of 2 other officers. I'd also like for you to please console their families, heal the 2 wounded officers. I know that you can't replace the young man that was killed. It's something near and dear to my heart after I did 35 years in service, and it's such a tragedy to lose when you have the people just unable to, console them. They never get over it. So Lord, give them peace. Give them an answer to why they serve this country and why they serve our county. Thank you for their service. Thank you for all the officers out there and the firemen in their service, and thank you for everything you've done. In the name of your Son, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Peacock,
Here.
Councilmember Hartle,
Here.
Councilmember Lay,
Present.
Councilmember Womack,
Present.
Mayor Wynkoop.
Here. Alrighty, well, we're here to discuss the wastewater treatment plant, wastewater collection system, and I don't know if everybody got to see the agenda. We have some things we'd like to go through to bring everybody up to date on where we're at and why we're at where we're at. So Paul and our engineering firm are going to explain first discussion of the upper Ockalaqua BMAP and Mount Verde's commitment under the 2020-150. You guys ready for that?
Yep, thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you,
be my
Mayor. Thank
guest.
you. Thank you for everyone being here. We want to make sure that council has all the latest information as to make this decision. And council, as you know, whatever decision you make, your staff is here and we'll follow through with that. I'd like to introduce Marianne Kovacevic. I was close with, she's with Surface Water Professional, so she helps us with our federal and state NPDES permitting for the Clean Water Act, so a lot of our stormwater stuff, and has a lot of experience working with Lake County Water Authority, and has helped us with BMAP stuff in the past. And if it's okay, because I know she needs to kind of see the screen, I'm just going to ask her if it's okay if she sits here, and you might just stand up and introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I can just stand up.
Sure.
Thank you.
There you
Turn the glasses on. Oh,
go. Yeah, you want to go right there?
all right, great, thank you.
No, I'm good. I'm a wanderer anyway, so.
So leave that screen there.
All right, okay, good. All right. Good evening, council, everyone. It's lovely to be back here again. I was here, just to remind you, I was here last year to provide you with your annual NPDES stormwater update. And so I'll be going through some of that again, and then providing you with additional information regarding the Clean Waterways Act and other House bills that were passed and are going into effect as of July 1st of this year as well. So first, we use a lot of acronyms, of course. NPDES is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. And what that does is that is the EPA program that regulates discharges from MS4s, both commercial sites, construction sites, industrial sites. And MS4 is multiple separate storm sewer system. So if you need a tongue twister tonight at dinner, there you go. These requirements are from the EPA, and they are administered here in the state of Florida by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and that is statutorily through statutes 403 and 62-621, if you need some exciting reading later. These permits require the town to do the following: to reduce our discharges to the maximum extent practicable, to protect our water quality, and to satisfy the water quality requirements set forth in the Clean Water Act. And I did make a note here that the Clean Water Act is different. That's a 50-year-old law that went into effect in 1973. Yes, so it's 51 years old now, which is different than the State Clean Waterways Act, which just came into effect in the state of Florida last July. Now, Montverde's NPDES permit, we are a Phase 2 permittee, which means that we are a small municipality who fits into the threshold of the Phase 2 requirements in the state of Florida. We have a 5-year permit. That permit runs until April 6th of next year. We are currently in year 5 of our permit, and not only is that we are finishing our reporting year for our year 4 data, but this year is also an audit year. So on September 19th, the staff from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection will be here doing an audit on our NPDES permit. Additionally, it's a busy, did I shut that off? I think I did. No, I didn't. Hands. Additionally, it's a busy year for NPDES because our new permit request is also due, our notice of intent. That is due to the state by October 6th. So we'll be submitting that within the next month or so as well. We are currently operating under the restrictions of the old NPDES requirements because we submitted our report, our permit, before July of that year, 2020, when new rules came into effect. So our new permit, starting in 2025, will have stricter best management practice requirements included in it. Our permit has 6 minimum control measures, which we address via education, public outreach, illicit discharge, construction, and good housekeeping practices. Particularly important in the permit is the fact that any TMDLs in a watershed are now tied into the NPDES permit, and it is enforceable via that permit. If you are not in compliance with the TMDL allocations that have been or are going to be assigned to you as a municipality, you are then considered in non-compliance of your NPDES permit. And that can lead to consent orders, fines, etc. And I'll cover those a little bit later as well. Recently, as you're probably all aware, the town received a letter from DEP regarding the Federal Clean Waterways Act and the final order. And highlighted are the most important things. Dear Montverde, you are receiving this notification and guidance because your local government is located within the Upper Ocklawaha Basin Management Action Plan. And those are what we call BMAPs. And Florida statute requires local governments within a BMAP to develop wastewater treatment plans or OSTDSs, which is on-site sewage treatment and disposal system remediation plans. And for further reading, this is the final order from the state of Florida, which basically just spells out specifically what was in that summary letter to the town from DEP. And that order also lists in the final order, it does list all of the basins which are impacted by that final order for the Clean Waterways Act. In case you are not familiar with it, this is the Upper Ocklawaha River Basin, and all of the areas in orange, yellow, not sure what that looks like to you, it's orange on my map. That is the Upper Ocklawaha B-map. And where you see the black arrow on the little circle there, that's the dot for the town of Montverde. These are the impaired water bodies identified in the Upper Ocklawaha River Basin. And again, everything in red has been identified as an impaired water body. And of course, the closest thing to us here at the town is Lake Apopka.
What does impaired mean? What do you mean by impaired?
Impaired means that it is not meeting its loading potential, that it is impacted for nutrients or bacterias, etc. There's a list of requirements that list it as impaired. Oops, did it say? Oh, it's all right. And we'll be having a quiz on this later, so if you want to memorize this, please, right now, 5 seconds. I did make it easy for you. I highlighted Lake Apopka. This is what a TMDL is. It's a total maximum daily load. And what that means is Lake Apopka can take this much garbage, this much pollution, before it says, ah, no more. That is the maximum daily load any water body can put up with. And it varies by water body. And if you'll see, the most important part of this slide, other than my highlighting there, is the last column, upper right, overall needed reduction. Lake Apopka can handle 130, or is getting 137 pounds of phosphorus every year dumped into it. What it can handle is 32,000 pounds. Somehow, we have to reduce 100,000 pounds of phosphorus loading. That's what a TMDL is. And it seems like a lot, but when you spread it out amongst every entity, every little bit helps. Now, in our reporting requirements, that was the exciting part. In our reporting requirements, in 2022, every municipality in the state of Florida was required to submit a 20-year needs analysis. And we have to do that every 5 years. We submit it to Lake County. Lake County compiles all 14, I think it is, municipalities in the county, and they send the report on to DEP. Our next report is literally right around the corner in 2027. It seems like it's far away, but those things are so onerous to tackle, it takes a long time to prepare them. And basically what this says is, hey, state of Florida, here's the things that we would like to be able to do if we had some funding for them. And hopefully the legislators will look at that and say, yes, here's all these things, and we can help to provide some funding. So it's like a big compendium of who's got what project. Now the big one, House Bill 1379, which went into effect last July 1st. And I came and did a brief summary on this for you last August when it was a fresh, brand new baby and everybody was still figuring out what it was going to mean. So I've highlighted a couple of the important things, but basically what House Bill 1379 requires is that any municipality within a BMAP, and again, that's the Basin Management Action Plan, of which we are in the Upper Ocklawaha Basin, refer back to those maps that I showed you, we have to include capital improvements to achieve load reductions. And we must address the treatment or the upgrading of our wastewater treatment plants and prioritize advanced waste treatment. What does advanced mean? Advanced means not just taking care of bacteria, viruses, the normal things you think of when you think of wastewater, but also addressing nutrients. That's what advanced means. You might also hear it called enhanced. And then particularly of importance in this new bill, lots of 1 acre or less, which is most people, there is a prohibition on installing new septic systems of the old kind, the kind that we're accustomed to, the kind that don't treat for nutrients. You have to put an enhanced system in, or you have to connect to sewer. Or if you have one of the old, we'll call them old-fashioned septic systems because they are, those failures, if your tank fails and needs to be replaced, or your drain field fails and needs to be replaced, that is considered new construction and falls under the statute requirements for enhanced treatment. And this is a little summary slide direct from DEP on House Bill 1379. And in particular, they are looking to improve their domestic wastewater and looking to expand grant opportunities. So that's good news for our municipalities. Now, in addition, the Clean Waterways Act, this was the companion bill. This is from the Senate, Senate Bill 712. And this includes water quality protections to be taken by municipalities, again, to reduce your impact of nutrient pollution sources by strengthening BMAP requirements. And again, that's we're talking regarding the Upper Ocklawaha Basin Management Plan, the UORB, you might also hear it called. That's the one that we're in. And again, we have to focus on developing a wastewater treatment remediation plan or an OSTDS. Remember, OSTDS, those are everybody's little septics and the package plants. And also want to mention here that in addition to being located in the Lake Apopka River, the Upper Ocklawaha River Basin, we are also in the sub-basin, the Lake Apopka Watershed sub-basin, which both have been identified as the TMDL for total phosphorus. And this is the timeline that we have been complying with here at the town. We're right on schedule. We just, before August 1st, submitted our plan as required to DEP. And these are going to be included in the final order, which DEP will push out on July 1st of next year. And just to kind of summarize, where allocations have not been already identified, as in a particular municipality gets to, out of that 100, let's say the number is of nutrients we have to lose 100 pounds. Wouldn't that be great? I'm going to lose 100 pounds. We're going to assign, based on all of our modeling and number of septics, number of wastewater treatments, and amount of impervious hard surface, we have to reduce X number of pounds in each municipality will be assigned a corresponding amount to reduce. So Montverde will get a specific number to reduce by. City of Winter Garden will get a specific number to reduce by. Lake Apopka is currently being remodeled right now. That watershed allocation number that you saw, we need to reduce another 102,000 pounds. That's going to increase. So more nutrient loading has to stop going into Lake Apopka. And that is going to come out in 2028, and all of the allocations will be set for the cities by statute at that time. So whatever number Montverde is given, that's the number you will have to achieve. And you will have less than 5 years to do so.
Question.
Question real quick?
No, I'm going to ask first. Excuse me.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Thank you. OMTS, is that what you said the little systems is called?
OSTDS. And it's,
OSTT.
yes, on-site sewage treatment disposal system.
And those tack on to the current septic and purify the water.
Those are considered those are septic. It's either a package plant or your individual septic, your individual septic, your individual septic. Those are all considered because it's on site treating just this area. It's not taking it to a main treatment plant.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I apologize if this has been addressed earlier. The phosphorus is coming from where? Because it comes from many different sources. So the bulk of it is coming from where?
Yes, so phosphorus mainly will come from your fertilizers. Nitrogen will come from your septics. Currently, we are our main limiting nutrient in Apopka is phosphorus, and right behind it is nitrogen.
But have you studied where it's coming from the most so you can target those areas?
Yes, good question. Yes, the people at the St. Johns River Water Management District, they have modelers who specifically determine the locations and look at aerials, on-site ground truthing to determine what's where.
So what's the answer?
I don't know what's the
Where's
answer.
the majority of this coming
Oh,
from?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't understand your question. The new modeling is occurring right now, so I don't know yet. They don't have that information until they finish all of that work. Yeah. And just a refresher from my presentation last time, these are some funding opportunities that may be available for projects in the future. And this is stormwater related or sewer septic conversion related. You may be able to get Springs grants because you are in the Lake Apopka watershed and you're being considered to be also attached to the Wekiva Springs Shed Basin. And we'll talk about spring sheds in a little bit.
Let's just hold the questions so we can get through this. Write them down.
Thank you. The new bill that has just arrived is House Bill 1557, which specifically is for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and this advances the protection of environmental resources. It's going to improve our treatment of reclaimed water because reclaimed water does have high nutrients in it. So if you're on reclaimed water, don't bother fertilizing because your water's already doing it for you. Expanding wastewater facilities and also investing in innovative technologies. So the technologies we have now may improve and change into the future. So DEP is going to be able to invest in making sure that those things happen. Now, regarding the non-compliance, we know we get these questions a lot. And of course, the compliance is statutory. Asking about current fines, I've had some questions. There are current fines in process, anywhere from a mere $4,000 to upwards of $90,000. Additionally, you pay that fine and you still have to correct whatever the issue was that you're in violation of. So if you had just done it right the first time, you wouldn't be seeing that fine. DEP also has several more permittees on the way that are going to be seeing consent orders and fines for non-compliance with their MS4 permits. And you might wonder what happens. Well, it's kind of like you get put on the naughty list. That list of non-compliance permits moves up the chain from the directors to the legislature and to the governor, and it does impact future funding and the reputation of that municipality. DEP is highly unlikely to give money to somebody who has been not in compliance for several years for that particular reason. So it does impact that funding. So future requirements and challenges. Again, we have to keep thinking about that 2028 Lake Apopka reallocation, where Montverde's name is going to be there with a number. So we have to keep that in mind. We don't know what that number is yet, but we can tell based on the spring sheds and the Indian River Lagoon regulations. Those are what's happening now. A few years ago, DEP gave us an inclination that this is what is coming down the pike. And now we're seeing that in the IRL and in our spring basins like Silver Springs, Wekiva Springs, much stricter requirements. And so we can see in our little crystal ball that those things are marching forward toward us at a more rapid pace now, because they are already right next door. And again, the restrictions on new traditional septic systems and the requirements for replacement failures. The legal implications for unpermitted septics. If a homeowner thinks, okay, well, I'll just pay John under the table to put a septic system in, there are legal ramifications to that as well. The permitting of septic systems is slowly moving from the Department of Health to the Florida Department of Environmental Regulation. So we'll be seeing that change over the next couple of years. And then, of course, moving forward, there will be an increased competition for funding. Right now, there's not a lot of people asking for funding. In 3 to 4 years, as these things slowly become more and more restrictive, there's going to be a lot more competition for that little pot. So we have to keep that in mind. And then finally, I just wanted to cover, just to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like for the future. This is your the current way that the majority of the town waste is disposed of. So we have, if you look at the circled one, 609 known lots that are on septic. And I just want you to take, this is just a quick little thing. If you just look at the purple is lots that are on septic. The peachy, orangey, yellowy color are the ones that are likely to be on septic, just not confirmed. So that's a lot. That's pretty much the bulk of the town. Now I want to talk to you about what that means in regards to your allocations. DEP gives you this information, what they consider when they're going to look at every single lot here and take those numbers. If you have a traditional septic system, that provides you no treatment. So there is no allocation reduction credit there for any of it. Enhanced septic, that's medium treatment. So you get a 50% credit reduction. A wastewater treatment plant, because it's monitored 24 hours a day and continually receives upgrades, receives the highest treatment value at 95%. Now, if we look at the number of lots, again, taking from that previous slide, we have a total of 366 lots. Now, this is in the town limits and also within the service area. So a combined 366 lots on wastewater. We are in the process, I understand there may be one enhanced system going in the vicinity of the town. And we have 609 lots within town limits that we as a town are responsible for figuring out how are we going to take that zero reduction credit and move it to meet that 2028 allocation. So those are pretty big numbers. And then finally, just to give you some of the strategies, many municipalities are adopting the state statute, that final order, into their local ordinance language in order to more easily enforce the enhanced septic treatment system. Focusing your efforts on nutrient reducing projects. At a minimum, anything within 200 meters of Lake Apopka needs to be addressed. And then, of course, the importance of early enhancement efforts for the 2028 allocations. Again, thinking about the funding that you have now that's not going to be there 3 or 4 years from now. And so I encourage you, if you have questions, I'm happy to take them, or if Paul needs to have the next section move on, you know I'm going to be here.
Let me interrupt for a minute.
Up to the mayor.
Why don't, anybody wants to come in here and stand behind us, you're welcome to. Come on down here. You know, I hate seeing you all in the hall there. If you want to come stand, come on down here if you want to stand down here.
But no dancing on the stage.
Yeah, you can sit on the stage if you want.
No dancing.
Anybody wants to come down here, come on. Come on down if you want to come. It's very uncomfortable up there. Come on down here. I want to make sure everybody can hear us. Give me a minute. All righty. Go ahead, sit in that chair. All righty. I guess we're about full. All right. Let me ask this young guy right here. Go ahead.
Marianne, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It's very educational. One question, I have two questions. The first one would be, it would have been nice to have this presentation made to us a year and a half, 2 years ago.
It was made to us.
Okay, so I'm just
It
saying.
was made to us.
It was made to us.
public.
So you were made, but
We
It
had,
was made to us.
We remember
And
now.
you were invited, like you always are to meetings.
everybody's invited to our meetings. This was,
You chose not to come, that's
Okay.
why you don't point your finger at us.
yeah.
that's the second question. The
Thank you.
specific question I have is when a homeowner here has a septic system that either is failing on the drain field or the tank itself, are they immediately, do they have to put an enhanced system altogether, or is there some kind of a improvement to their current system?
Any system that gets replaced in our town has to be the enhanced.
Yes, it's an all or nothing type thing.
And the sewer plant,
Yeah.
sewer people know that.
And I do appreciate you. As I mentioned, I gave a very similar presentation literally like a year ago, but again, we know so much more. As I mentioned at the meeting a year ago, it's in process and things are changing. So we are happy to be able to come back to provide more information that we have gathered from DEP as well.
All righty, thank you.
My name's James. I live in town. I want clarification, are we in a BMAP zone? Because when I go to the DEP tool and run it, I'm outside the shaded area. When I click future, the shaded areas take into account of POPCA, but the town itself don't show, and it tells me I don't need an upgraded septic tank.
Yes, you are in the Upper Ocklawaha BMAP. And I think sometimes there is a tool online that I would encourage everybody to use on DEP's website on under the Water Quality Division. If you Google Upper Ocklawaha River Basin BMAP and you click on the side on DEP's website, there's an interactive map. And that map you can click on and it will outline each of the BMAPs. And there's also a new line, which is maybe what has caused some confusion. There's a new line regarding the Middle St. John's Basin, of also which may put Lake Apopka and a portion of the town of Montverde into the Wekiva Springs Basin. Should that occur, it's possible that that portion of our town will also be impacted by the more stringent Springs Act. But we're not there yet. Again, we're still in the modeling stage.
And sir, just real quick, to your point, I've been on the website before and I looked and I actually called Marianne and a couple people because it's really confusing. You got to zoom out a lot past Mascot, then you can actually see the outline. But if you're zoomed in on Montverde, it almost appears that we're out of it. But if you zoom where you can see the whole entire Lake County, it'll clearly show that you're in it.
Yeah, that's right. What you're seeing on that line is the eastern boundary of the Ocklawaha B-map and the western boundary of the Lake Apopka subbasin, which is what they're considering putting into the spring shed, the Wekiva spring shed as well. So it does get a little confused. I agree, it's not the greatest map, and when you click on it, sometimes their box shoves right over on the top of what you're trying to look at. So not always easy, but
All right,
hopefully this gives you a better idea.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, behind you.
Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Oh, what's that?
Go ahead for number 2.
Yep, okay. No, what you need?
I don't need a microphone. I can raise it up for those of you that can't hear me. Can you hear me?
Do you need it for, does she need it?
All right, I can get a little louder. Can you hear me now? So I heard a whole lot of okay, may, and could be. I hear a whole lot of maybe, should, and considering. Anybody hearing that when we're being talked to?
What's your point?
My
You think
point-
everything's laid out in front of you and you got to use that as only decision? What's your point?
Let them talk. Let the people talk, then you can respond, because you're being rude.
You're right, I will.
Hey, we'll pay, you listen. How about that?
What's that?
I said, we'll
So-
pay, you listen.
Everything
Calm down,
that's being
everybody.
talked
Let's
about-
just, let's be adults here. Please, please, please. Calm down.
Everything that's being talked about on Ocklawaha was August 14th of 2020. Where are we at? Almost 4 years later. And we're just now getting this information?
I do.
All right, thank you very much. All
I
right,
do.
let's keep going
Sir.
here. Yes, sir. Come on up. There's people online that can't hear you.
With regard to the reductions that are required, from what I'm hearing is mainly fertilizer, close to phosphorus.
Right, fertilizer is the focus for phosphorus.
Right.
Septic is the focus for nitrogen.
It's focused, but also fertilizer is nitrogen, correct?
Yes, there is also nitrogen.
So with the town put restrictions on fertilizer, would that help to meet the requirements that we're being asked to meet? And in other words, also, what are we being asked to reduce? In other words, what are the limits?
Lake County already has a limit on that. Sean Parks, if you want to address that. The county implemented when you can and can't fertilize seasonal.
The town has actually had one of the first fertilizer ordinances in the whole state of Florida about 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah, by the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
It-
What I'm asking is, what are the limits we're going to be asked to reduce to? Is there a number?
Right.
Or is this just something that's
Yeah, no,
in the air?
we currently do not have a number, and not for lack of asking.
Right.
It's currently being modeled so that we know what our goal number is. Now, but keep in mind, the total number for Lake Apopka will be very large, but it's going to be split up between all of the entities around Lake Apopka, so it will vary by entity, but it will be a couple of years before we know what that number is. But that number is not, it's not going away.
Right, but is it possible to
Oh,
meet the requirements?
yes, so to
by
answer
eliminating
your
fertilizer?
question, that these TMDLs are met by a multi-pronged approach. So generally, it doesn't have to be just one thing. A lot of times, it can be many different things. But DEP is very clear that those things that you choose must be effective. It's not a best management practice, a BMP, just because you say it is. It is a best management practice because the results show that it is actually reducing that nitrogen or phosphorus loading. So, but absolutely, I would love for everybody in the town to stop fertilizing right now. But I know it's not going to happen. But yes, and we should consider all of those ways.
He's got a good point. Thank you very much. All righty, yes.
Mary Ann, can I ask you 5 questions, being on council?
Oh, I only have room for 4.
Okay.
No.
The TMDL for Lake Apopka, has that been established already?
Yes, the original TMDL, if you were, let me
Sorry,
go
I
back
gotcha.
to that big chart. Okay, who memorized that chart? Because that's where we're going back to. You got it? All right. Yes.
I'm getting there, sorry.
Yes, sorry, I had a
Whoops.
lot of anime. There we go. Oh,
I went to,
there we go. Okay. Yes, so the current TMDL, the BMAP was first set in place in 2007. It was updated again in 2014. It is undergoing its current update now, and Lake Apopka does have its own TMDL.
Second question, how do the current cities, Apopka, Zellwood, Plymouth, Ocoee,
Winter
Winter
Garden.
Garden, and Oakland stack up on their output, since we haven't been included in this system yet?
I wish I don't deal with the Orange
just didn't
County
know if you had
sides.
that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't deal with the Orange County side, so I don't know what the outputs are for the Orange County side of things. Only the Lake. I only have the Lake County allocations, but those allocations are available in
St.
that
John's has
BMAP.
them up.
Yes.
St. John has them up on
Yes.
Union. The nutritional load, nitrate, nitrites.
Total nitrogen, total
Well,
phosphorus.
there are 2 critters there,
Yes.
the nitrate and nitrites. Okay.
Yeah. They just consider
Total.
TN and TP.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Second thing, who sets the new TMDL, and they're basing that on projected last 40 years of Lake Apopka monitoring from USDA, IFAS, and St. John's?
So they base 2 questions. Number 1, the TMDL will be set by statute from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and those numbers come from the modeling that is occurring within the Ocklawaha Basin Working Group, a combination of all of those that you mentioned.
I know this has been going on since the mid-'60s, quietly behind the scene. Information been slowly, before Lake Apopka shut down the muck farms, they had information baselined, and they've modified, changed it, adapted it, set new goals. We went from parts per thousand to parts per million to parts per billion, parts per trillion. So the science has definitely increased. Enhanced systems. Do we know specifically any ballparks as how much they remove currently?
You know, we were talking earlier, I think the
about
mayor had
80%.
mentioned like 85% reduction from enhanced. However, at this point, I can't speak to that because they are a very new technology, and so that long-term study data
Hasn't
is
been
not
set,
there.
correct.
Maybe it's, if it's at best 50% reduction, that's still 50% more than you were getting with the 0 for a previous, so.
Well, I had 2 other follow-ups, which you pretty much answered, and I know the question, but the answer, but I'm just going to throw it out. And do they meet the goal? Because originally, when this was discussed, it was talking about currently, this is what they do. New systems will be adapted as technology gets better down the line. So basically, if you're forced into a new system, enhanced system, your system of now may be obsolete down the road 10 years. Even though it's quote-unquote a new system, you will have to pay the updates to go to the new system.
That's all maybe, though.
Well,
Yeah,
I know that usually but we're dealing with government officials that don't,
Yeah.
on agencies that set things. But and and also my last question is, how are they limited? If you may know that, how do they limit the caps, max on the new systems? Or is that still new? Yeah.
I'm not a wastewater person.
I know.
I am a
I was
surface
just,
water.
I was just asking. I was with St. John's last week and had these questions, and I
Did
kind of
they
got
answer that?
No, they kind of gave me a gray area runaround on this. It's kind
Yeah,
of, it's
sorry
in the
about
works.
that. That's,
So, yeah.
Let's
But I
try,
just
let's
wanted
try to
ask.
move
Thank
on
you.
to number 3
Yeah.
here and get some of the discussion going.
I know that I'm preempting many of your questions, but
And Mr. Lay, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get
Could-
to a discussion.
Could you pull the mic up closer? People are having.
I said, I'm sorry for preempting many of your questions, and you in particular. But I'm trying to get to the decision point here, because want to make a decision at some point real quick. On your OSTTS enhanced systems, is that the one that which you talked about up there with the enhanced system, or is that a better system?
that is the one that DEP is referring
That
to.
only get 50% though.
A 50% reduction credit, yes.
What
Yes.
does it take to get beyond, if we do not do a sewer system, what does it take to get to that level?
That will depend on what that number is.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking
But-
about, can you get to that number with the new enhanced septic system?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah, and that is the question, or I guess the unknown. We know they're going to set new standards in 2028. We don't know exactly what those standards are going to be. It's possible that 25% of the town over to advanced septics might handle it. It's possible 100% won't. It's hard to tell. We know they're moving in a more regulatory fashion, and they're looking at considering us into the springs as well. But we as staff honestly cannot answer that because DEP has not told us.
So it'd be hard.
Paul, as technology moves on, do we really have to tear up all of our streets and all that other stuff? Can we come up with a different system? That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Doesn't the county do the advanced septics? I was reading today.
County does distributed waste technology system, and we've set that up in north part of the county.
And
Okay,
Council,
yes,
one
sir.
of the, oh, I'm
Let me
sorry.
answer this guy right here. Got to stand
Hang
up.
on one second, we got to have a mic.
Okay, common sense tells me if there's 609 existing septic systems in town of Montverde that are looking at this goal, how many septic systems feed into that between here and Leesburg in smaller communities like Ashtatula, more rural, and are they going to be not in compliance by jumping ahead, trying to get on board with this? Are they going to then find all those homeowners between here and Eustis to say, you know, your particular little town of Ashtatula didn't jump on board and make sewer systems to more rural communities, and so they're looking at fines of $90,000 maximum. I mean, that's the picture that I'm hearing, that if we don't do it, what's going to happen between us all the way up to Leesburg in the smaller towns that don't have, you know, the wherewithal or the grants?
One of the things that when this statute first came out, DEP encouraged municipalities to work together because you may not have to bear the burden alone. So, you know, cooperation. So that's why I put the lid on these things. Yeah, but I do want to point out, once again, that we're talking about our environmental health here. A septic system, even, thank you for handing me this data on from DEP on average total nitrogen reduction for these enhanced systems, different types of enhanced systems. On average, we're looking 50 to 60%. There's some that are a little higher, some that are a little lower. But again, we're talking about the environment in which we live, friends, that we're still letting 50% of everything that leaves your septic system travel through the environment. And it's not just one of us anymore. It's 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 20,000 of these. This is a lifeline right now. It's a chance to protect that into the future. And I will continue to bring you the best available information as we get it, so that you
Okay.
can make appropriate
Come on down here.
decisions.
You got to speak into the microphone. So. Oh, I do. Wait a minute, then I'll get right back to you. Yeah.
And as she walks up, I just follow up real quick. Lake County, for the portion that is in the B map, we need to probably just step that back just a little bit from the speaker, maybe. Okay. Lake County's having to develop the same type of plan that Montverde is, and all the towns, if you're in a B map, even the county has to develop those same plans.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Lorraine Seaman, and there are multiple studies that saying within 5 miles of a water treatment plant, the air is dirty, there's all kinds of health issues. So you're talking about the water which gets treated for health. But what about the smell, the air quality? There's a lot of things that you can do before that. How many people here would be willing to reduce how much lawn they have? You can put in wildflower gardens and help the bees.
Well, I'm sorry,
Put in
but
pine trees. Just
can you save that for the end of the meeting? Because that's kind of the questions for the end. But I don't mean to interrupt you, but we want to get through this, and then those kind of questions we'll save. Do you have something that would apply now? Yeah, we're going to get to that. Yep. Okay.
We don't want to lose our audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have
Wait a
the
minute, wait a
engineer
minute.
kind of.
Okay, I got it.
Okay,
I got it.
gotcha.
Go ahead, Jim.
One thing,
Let Jim go.
the enhanced systems also require monthly monitoring, is that correct?
That's correct.
Add to the cost of the homeowner.
Yes.
Correct. The cost of the system and the cost of the monthly monitoring
And that
is
generally how
for the
much?
homeowner.
60.
60.
$60 a month. $60
Correct.
a month.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
60 plus electric.
That's
I'm
what
sorry,
we've
let
been
me
informed.
get the meeting back on track
That's
here.
just for Lake
Let's
County.
go ahead and, wait a minute, I did tell you could do yours. What were you going to ask? Okay, yep, thank you. All right, let's keep going. Let's discuss number 4. Wait. We're going to go to number 4 and discuss the grants and the different, things about the grants. Who wants to explain that?
What are we?
Wait a minute, I'll get to you, okay?
Okay.
I may forget by the time you get
Write it down.
Write it down.
What's that?
Okay, you're going to explain that, the grants?
I didn't ask what the question, or didn't hear.
Go ahead,
That'll
go
be
ahead and
coming
explain
up.
the grants.
Can't-
grants will be
hang on,
coming up.
Sean. Yeah.
Yeah, did you want to skip to the grant piece first?
Oh, you went past something else?
Yeah, we kind of combined the rest of them, all the rest of them into just one PowerPoint where they're going to go over and cover, if we can just do that.
Discussion of the, all right, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Do
just
the
kinda cover the
discussion of the
site.
site and the current layout.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to discuss the current layout real quick.
I got this one here. Okay, so yeah, for the record, I'm Scott Shannon. I'm a program manager with Woodard and Curran. So I'm responsible for most of the engineering work that we do for our client communities in Florida, which includes many of your neighboring communities, and obviously including Montverde. Just to be clear, so our role with the town is to basically take a look at and assess all the different environmental obligations that our clients have, in this case, the town, particularly as it relates to water quality and water infrastructure and water utilities. So what we do is we look at all those things that Mary Ann just discussed, and there's a number of things that being in a BMAP, but not just that, require you to do today, and with an eye on where the regulations are going and what you may have to do in the future. And then our job is to advise the town on the best way to meet those obligations now and potentially in the future in the most cost-effective and environmentally effective way that you can. And so what we have done, and I'm going to turn this over a minute to Sean Brown, who's our project manager for this specific project, who will go through the concept that we've all shared here in terms of what project would be to do that. But our whole goal here is, and we'll get to the grant discussion later, is to address these requirements, including potential requirements in the future with state money that you have today, so that you can avoid having to do these things in the future at your cost. And so that's the concept that we've come up with, and at that point I'll turn it over to Sean to introduce that.
Yeah, I just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself. My name's Sean Brown, Senior Project Manager with Woodard and Curran, and to introduce my team members who aren't here today, but I just wanted to recognize them. Frank Miller is our Senior Technical Manager working on the project, and Ed Sherwood is the lead project engineer working specifically on the wastewater treatment plant. Between the three of us, we have over 60 plus years experience with designing wastewater treatment plants, water treatment plants, wastewater and water treatment processes and equipment. And a little more background on Woodard and Curran. The plan that we had for this specific wastewater treatment plant was for the effluent to be introduced into the ground through what's called rapid infiltration basins, which is technology that's used throughout Florida to basically recharge the aquifer system. And so it allows that water to slowly over time seep through the ground and recharge the aquifer. And Woodard and Curran operates about 20 miles from here, 25 miles Water Conserve 2. And that's a partnership between Orlando and Orange County. And it's the largest reuse project of its kind in the world, utilizing these rapid infiltration basins. So we have a lot of experience using this type of technology for handling the effluent from wastewater plants effectively and in an environmentally friendly way. A little bit of status on where we're at right now, engineering team-wise, on the design of the wastewater treatment plant. So we talked about the BMAP already, and the OSTDS, the on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems, and the requirements around Florida code and statutes. We are in the process right now of doing topography throughout the town, looking at laying out the collection system for the town. And we have completed the underground utility surveying, which is 100% done. We also have issued an RFP, a request for proposal, for the wastewater treatment plant itself. And that's the plan is for that to be a design-build project where we work with a supplier that will be designing, supplying, and installing that package plant. Proposals are due on that to us mid-September for evaluation. We're in the process right now of working out the phasing plan for the collection system, how that's going to be oriented around the town and how those phases will be broken down. And the overall engineering on the collection system right now is at about 40%. Getting into more specifically the site requirements. So when we looked for a site for the wastewater treatment plant, we looked at the entire town, everything within the boundary limits, all available land that was within the boundary limits. And there are some significant things that that focused our efforts in trying to find the best place for the wastewater treatment plant. One primary one is the rapid infiltration basins, making sure we have somewhat of an even slope across the site, because the rapid infiltration basins have to be very level to operate properly, and all on a level area across the site. We also needed adequate distance from wetlands for the ribs to function properly, to make sure they didn't impair the wetlands or damage the wetlands in any way through erosion or further pollution. In addition, we needed to have an acceptable water table at that site, so the water had to be below a certain depth to allow the ribs to be able to absorb into the ground slowly over time based on FDEP design requirements. And we had to have the right geology. So we couldn't select a site that had, for instance, a large amount of limestone. We had to select a sandy site that had the right geology for this type of technology. And then lastly, the proximity to the sewer hookups in the town. We looked for an area that was somewhat centralized so that we could minimize the cost to the town for the collection system and for the routing of the piping to the wastewater treatment plant. So some of the challenges we had, particularly with regards to wetlands and lakes around this area, which are very prevalent, is the flood zone areas, both the 100 and 500 year flood zones we had to take a close look at. And make sure that no areas of the plant, including the ribs, would in any way be impacted by those flood zones. And then again, the steep and uneven topography. It's, you know, Montverde is unusually hilly. Florida is generally flat, and Montverde is definitely a challenge in trying to find the right site that provides the right topography to make the treatment plant work without incurring extreme costs in the design. So this is just an overview of kind of the town and the topography that we've been mapping, showing all the various elevation changes, and just gives you an overview on the difficulty we've had in trying to find a site that works well. And so here's the current property, parcel 200, that we're looking at in terms of the layout. The overall wastewater treatment facility area itself is fairly small, about 200 by 200 roughly, is where the package plant would be located in the WWTF wastewater treatment facility area. And then the ribs would be surrounding that, the ribs being essentially sand basins where the effluent would be distributed into the ground. And then a stormwater area to manage runoff relative to the new plant, and impervious areas to make sure the stormwater is properly managed. In addition to that, we had to make sure we accounted for all of the DEP requirements. For instance, the setbacks for the drinking water well, which is nearby, as well as setbacks from property owners that are adjacent to this property. North is up towards the stormwater basin management area. That's the 500-foot setback from the drinking water well.
All right, just wait now. Wait till he finishes, please.
Our plan is, we do recognize that there are a number of environmental factors, as the woman mentioned just previous to me being able to speak here. We're very cognizant of that in our design, and recognize that that's a concern for the community, given where this treatment, we're looking at placing this wastewater treatment plant. Things like odor, noise, as well as aesthetics. So we want to try, our goal in the design of this plant is to essentially make it invisible to the surrounding residents. And there's technology, this has been done many times throughout the U.S., throughout Florida. In fact, this is nothing new. We're not talking about new technology here. It's best management practices, best engineering design practices, and this is possible, I can assure you. And Woodard and Kern has done this many times, particularly in the Northeast, where we do a lot of our water and wastewater treatment work. It's very common for us to be in residential areas with this kind of plant. So one of the things we wanted to do was put a very clear landscape buffer around the site so that you don't visibly see the plant. Keep the tanks low, partially in ground, so that there's no visual sight of the plant itself. That's one aspect that we want to focus on.
Can I interrupt you?
Before everybody jumps in, the groundwater, or I should say our wells, are how deep? 600 feet?
About 400 feet.
Okay, is this any danger to our drinking water?
No, in fact, this is an improvement to your drinking water.
Because
what is a danger to your drinking water are the septic tanks that you're using.
Your
currently.
septics are right next to it.
Absolutely.
Let him finish, please.
Please
let him finish.
We'll cover that in a little bit of detail. You'll see that the effluent coming out of this plant is a huge improvement over what you're putting in the ground right now that is directly impacting your aquifer.
Just let him finish.
Another close example to you guys right here in Montverde is Bella Colina's wastewater treatment plant, which is centralized right within the residential community, surrounded by million-dollar homes, and with no complaints from the residents. The treatment plant works fantastically.
All right, let's go ahead and keep moving here. Let me try to get some questions answered. Are you finished?
Let me just see.
Wait now, let him finish. Please let him finish.
Let me just see what's next.
quick question then. How many municipalities in the local area have you done?
Hundreds. Hundreds.
So I can answer that. In terms of the communities that we're doing similar project to this right now, just nearby, Mascot, Groveland, Tavares.
You put them in the middle of a house.
I mean, I can name a bunch more in Florida if you want me to know. I mean, we're planning one for Howie in the Hills as well. These are very common, and that's where the regulations are taking us.
Come on, let's stay focused
Okay.
so we can get through this. Are you,
All right,
go ahead and
Mr.
finish
Mayor.
up, please. Go ahead and finish up. Please let him finish.
Okay, so a little bit on the effluent water quality, environment, and DEP regulations. So I just wanted to explain a little bit the design approach. We will be phasing the plant, so based on the funding that's available, the plant will be modular so that we can expand it as we are able to build out the collection system. The phase one design is estimated to handle wastewater from approximately 1,600 people, and that's an annual average daily flow of 170,000 gallons per day that will be treated. We're required by Florida DEP to make sure that we have a minimum of 2 trains so that if one train is out, we can still handle the design flow at 66% of max month average daily flow. So one train would be able to handle 212,000 gallons per day. In addition, the design has to fully comply with the 10 state standards per requirements by DEP. And our target design for the effluent is actually 75% of the proposed limits from DEP, which are 10, 20 BOD, 20 TSS, and 20 nitrate as nitrogen. But our design is 75% improved from that at 15, 15, and 7.5. And a little bit on the odor control side of things, we are implementing into the design odor control mitigation processes to make sure that that's not an issue for the surrounding residents. We know that that's of extremely high importance for the residents. One of the things that we will definitely be doing is installing covers or enclosures on the tanks or equipment where odors are produced in the wastewater treatment plant. And that's primary areas being the sludge holding tank and the headworks of the plant where the influent screens are located. So with the sludge holding tank, what we've done in the past that's worked extremely well is to cover that area and then pull a vacuum with a blower and send that air through the tank diffusers of the aeration basin, which essentially strips out the odors from that side of the process. The headworks themselves, we'll be evaluating that, and those can also be installed and covered to prevent release of noxious odors from the plant, utilizing available technology for odor control that quite a few suppliers provide in the marketplace. And you can see an example there in the bottom left is an odor control box with media to strip out all the odors from the headworks. So the design, of course, will be designed to meet all the setback requirements by DEP, exceed the discharge requirements by Florida DEP. We'll also meet all the environmental standards that have been established both by the EPA, Fish and Wildlife Commission, and other regulatory agencies. And then the long-term plan is to ultimately give the town an opportunity to utilize reuse supply for irrigation purposes. This is another issue that the district is focusing highly on is use of water by municipalities in the area because of the strain on the upper Florida aquifer. And so they're looking for municipalities to come up with alternative methods to reduce their use of the aquifer in other ways. And one key way to do that a lot of towns have had success with is to utilize their effluent wastewater for reuse for irrigation purposes.
Okay, I've got several questions before we get started.
Right, I'll be with you in a minute.
Yeah, we're not quite finished yet.
Everybody has questions. All right, the next
So-
part,
Yeah, just wanted to, Mayor Joe, there's a couple more things
I'm sorry?
there's a couple more things we wanted to cover
Oh,
here
you
under the
did?
technical
Okay,
part
go
of it.
ahead.
Yeah, just,
Go ahead.
and one of them was just to reiterate the last thing that Sean said, is that doing this project or not doing it can also affect the current water supply that you have, the drinking water supply that you have for the town, even just in the permitting aspect of it. You're going through a consumptive use permit renewal process right now, which is the permit that you have with St. Johns River Water Management District to withdraw water from the ground for your water treatment plants. One of the things that we know they're going to require, because you guys are in an area called the Central Florida Water Initiative, is an alternative water supply project. A wastewater treatment plant would give you the ability to meet some of that requirement using effluent from the plant to reuse versus having to spend capital on some other project that has yet to be identified. So it's a potential asset even for your drinking water system right now. I wanted to just talk a little bit more about I know there's some concern over the proximity of the treatment plant to the existing water treatment plant. I'll go back to it in a minute, but let's leave it here for now. So that the site as we have laid out currently meets all the requirements of DEP in terms of setbacks from roads, from houses, from drinking water wells. There's a 500-foot radius that we have to meet to keep the plant away from a drinking water well. What I'm showing up here now are pollutant levels that come from raw wastewater from the effluent of a properly functioning septic tank, and then the minimum requirements for what a wastewater treatment plant has to require. And so what you see there between the middle columns, and there's a column for each of the primary pollutants, which are biological oxygen demand, total suspended solids, total nitrogen, and total phosphorus. And just eyeballing that, the pollutant levels coming out of a wastewater treatment plant are 20%. So basically we're removing 80% more of the pollutants that would otherwise be removed from a septic tank. So what you're replacing by putting a treatment plant in here that is well regulated and where the effluent is monitored every day is you're replacing that, you're replacing the effluent of 600 septic tanks in town that are discharging right into the ground at 5 times the pollution level of a treatment plant. So the DEP looks at this as an absolute improvement in water quality. In fact, that is the very driver for this project. In fact, they're in support of this project to the extent that they're willing to give you their money to do the project rather than your own. And really the biggest risk that we're trying to avoid right now is that you all have to pay for this in a couple of years anyway, rather than doing what's needed to be done now and using their money to do it.
All righty.
So,
anything else you got?
I can cover the grants now if we want. Just
yeah, let's do it so we can keep it going. He can go back when we do the questions.
Sure.
Right now, I'd like to do the grants.
Yeah. So just covering the grant money. You can go to the next slide there, Paul.
Yeah.
So there's $28.8 million that's been awarded to the town to do this project, which basically means we can do the concept that we've presented at zero capital cost to the town. That comes from 3 sources, one of which is ARPA money coming from Lake County. It's federal stimulus dollars. That's $5 million, which has to be obligated between now and the end of the year, and the end of 2024. The other 2 grant sources are DEP wastewater grant, which is specifically for a sewer collection system, and the special appropriation, which is the bulk of that money, is for there was an exception made to what that appropriation was, which was specifically for hazard mitigation and hurricane recovery that made septic to sewer projects specifically eligible for those. So that's what that money is for.
So Scott, we have how much of that is specifically for sewer?
All of it is specifically for sewer.
We can't reverse this thing and put enhanced.
No, the grant sources for these are specifically, in fact, there's limitations on what we can even use for treatment plant because of the requirements associated with this money. So those enhanced distributed septic tanks, or even the nutrient removing OSTDSs, are not eligible to be funded under any of these funding sources.
That just covers the plant. Question?
No, that money covers the plant and the collection system, and the connections to individual houses.
So we have had nearly $29 million to put this in.
But we have the 20.
Yes.
That's not what we do with 20.
Okay. Yeah, we have the $29 million.
They gave it to us.
I know, how much you already spent.
All right, let's see where we should go from here now. so we can keep it moving friendly. We got the deadlines up here, yep, okay. All right, well, let's go back. We're gonna discuss the questions from the previous meeting and see where we're at with that. And let me add that I talked to our 2 state reps today, and they told me that this money could be redirected. I'm just telling you. Okay.
I can answer that, Mr. Mayor. I can at least address that. I mean, these specific funding sources all have, they come from federal funds, and so the DEP who administers are very limited on what they can do, even despite what our local legislators.
Okay, but, okay, I understand what you're saying.
I have no doubt that there may be other money out there at some point to do that. Unlikely this much,
Well,
and certainly no guarantee.
Okay, we'll get to that. We're going to discuss that.
Just briefly, Mayor.
All right, well, let's start with questions, and let me point to the person that's going to have the question. Yes.
I just wanted to reiterate what Scott said. In looking at the documents that the town agreed to and the applications that were submitted, these funds can only be used for that purpose. And I agree, maybe there are other funding sources, but for these allocations of this $28 million, it can only be used for the wastewater system and the collection system.
Yeah, and that's, I understand that. Okay, go ahead.
So let's assume my attorneys are not present tonight, because I was on vacation when I heard about this meeting. So let's also assume that we need to clean up the water. Great.
Mayor, can I pause you 1 second and have a mic come?
This is the
I'm
best
sorry.
I can do.
Oh, wait a minute, let me get your microphone.
We have.
Because there's people, no, there's people, yeah, go ahead.
So let's assume that everything we heard tonight equals we got to clean up the water. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, right? Let's raise our hand if you live in Magnolia Terrace. But oh, funny enough, that's who's here tonight. Okay, let's
put it next to them.
Isn't it? Isn't that weird?
Amazing.
Let's talk about compatibility studies and the attorneys that some of us just hired to discuss the property implications of this sort of infrastructure directly contiguous to our neighborhood. And forgive me if I don't use the right terms. I'm in medicine. I'm not in real estate development. I'm not in cleaning up dirty water. But what I am in is understanding the implications of this sort of infrastructure directly contiguous next to my neighborhood and what it does to the real estate values of those who've invested over the last 20 years in our neighborhood. So this is what I would ask on behalf of my attorneys, who I just retained. It's not cool. It's whether or not you live here and you understand the challenges we have as owners directly contiguous next to where you want to put this incredibly obscene infrastructure. And this is what I would ask you. Have you done a sufficient compatibility study to understand the other locations that are flat that can receive this sort of infrastructure? Because I have.
Excellent
And
question.
I'm still talking to you. It's my turn. I believe
Where
I
are
have the
the
floor.
other- where are
I'm
the
so
others?
sorry. I believe I have the floor, and I shall finish my question.
your question.
So as someone who's personally connected to Bella Clina, who spoke to Dwight Howard tonight about the feasibility studies that were done on this sort of infrastructure, I would question you, what is it about the property you've selected as opposed to that on Ridgewood and 7th Street that does not have the same implications to those who live in the neighborhood that are primarily represented here tonight? And why have you decided
Directed to
that's...
Scott.
Who should I, Scott. Scott is who I should talk to? My name is Justin. Scott, how are you tonight?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great.
All right, Scott.
So tell me why you're destroying my property value.
Now, tell us why you haven't found the other adequate piece of property.
I think John did that. didn't he?
Or is it John?
Or a second option, and can we revise those plans?
Because
Let me have our town manager, let me have him explain the different things we
please
looked at.
explain. We have a lot
Go
of
ahead.
questions
Go ahead,
beyond
Paul.
this.
Okay,
that
thank
will
you,
come in.
thank you.
Is that done?
Yep. Okay,
I'm
go
ready for the
ahead.
answer.
So Scott, why don't you explain the site selection
Okay,
process and
explain
the funds involved?
the different things we did.
I don't see you in the neighborhood.
Come on.
I do live here. Have a
Funny
seat
enough,
for me.
I haven't seen you.
Come on.
I don't care what
Come
you
on,
see.
go sit.
I
Have a
feel
seat.
it. I feel it.
So
Go sit. Let's
I
go.
I will interpret the question as to why this site was chosen as opposed to any others in town, and I can tell you that the
Say it's cost.
Just say it's cost.
Of course it was cost.
Because you can build on that little plant, no problem.
For $7 million.
Come on, let's finish.
The,
Let him finish.
already tried to tell us.
Let's see what he's got to say.
They don't live there.
I'm just gonna end the meeting if you keep it up, okay?
Feels right.
And that's not gonna do any good. So please behave. Thank you.
So
Go ahead.
we looked at a high level at every piece of undeveloped land in Montverde. This site it met all the criteria that Sean described before, which was topography, site geology, proximity to wetlands, proximity to the source of the septic tanks that we were going to be connecting them to. And this was the only site that that had the ability to accept the effluent for the size plant that we needed to design.
Oh, wait, let me, raise your hand if you want to talk, and let me point, you got 3 minutes.
Let somebody else speak.
Yeah, you did. You let him go. Now, let come back to you. Okay, let me come back to you.
Hey, Patty,
What?
why don't you stay in the
Oh,
back
okay,
with
yes,
the
I'm
mic?
sorry. You're right, your turn.
Just come up. And can I have a mic come to you, please, real quick? It just we have people online that are listening, so we'll bring
Oh,
them.
I'm sorry, yeah, you need a mic.
I'll have Patty stay in the back with the mic, and the
Yeah,
people
there you go.
over on this side, if you'll come up to the mic.
Did we have a second alternative for the site that would accommodate all the requirements?
No, not one that would accommodate all the requirements. We look again. We looked at every piece of undeveloped property in town. This was the only one that works for the size plant that we need to construct.
Okay, you're saying for the size plant. Was there an alternate for the size of the plant that would work for Montverde? For a second alternative? And is this...
The second alternative would be to build not one plant, but 4 plants or 3 plants throughout town at a much higher cost.
But you'd still build on that lot too.
Yeah, including
Right,
that one.
there'd be that lot
Yeah.
and 3 other ones, that we looked at that. But it wouldn't be as big what we were talking
He's
about.
spoken 3 times.
Wait.
She hasn't yet.
Wait a minute, let's be calm.
Pushy.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So the plan that you have in place, are you saying that's final?
No, he's
we
not.
say it's
We say it's final.
Right.
We're listening.
We hire them.
They're hired guns. These people, these 5
Okay,
people here.
if we
they're
find
fine.
an alternate solution, can we revise these plans?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And how do we submit that in writing such that you investigate?
Well, I think you're going to be okay. I got you.
Nut job.
I got you.
Go ahead.
It's okay. Breathe.
All right.
Breathe.
Thank you very
No.
much for calling the meeting so we can talk. If everyone can just give me a second to talk without being interrupted, I really appreciate it. I put a lot of thought into my words, so I'm going to read them because I want to make sure that they all go. I want to note that I am not a speaker for everyone in this group. However, I have been trying to collect and organize my voices, or many voices, over the last 10 days. And last night I moderated a meeting to hear from fellow residents and expert professionals dealing with this kind of project. I've learned that there's a wealth of knowledge in our community, and I'm very thankful to have gotten the opportunity to speak with many of these wonderful people in great lengths over the last 2 weeks. I'd like to start by asking a few questions to get the ball rolling, and I believe many of our industry experts who live in our community, along with other community residents, have been working tirelessly since we were alerted at the new location. And they all have their own questions in relation to the research that they've done. At the last council meeting, I asked a few questions regarding grant money. Hoping that you guys have had sufficient time. It sounds like we have the right people here now to answer these questions. And now I got to kind of go through my notes a little bit because some of them have been answered. But it looks like we have $28 million in grants. How much of that money has actually been received that you guys have access to for this project right now?
The whole thing.
All right, so we have $28 million in our account for this.
Yeah.
Well, can I clarify that real quick, Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So we have a total of the 5 million ARPA, which is actually physically in our bank account, and the remaining $4 and $19 million are reimbursement grants. So as we spend it, we get reimbursed by the DEP. Of that 5 million, we spent approximately $1 million so far in design and
Let's let
engineering.
this young lady finish first.
Thank you.
I'll come back.
Appreciate that. So technically, we're not on the hook for the other 19 million. We just lose it if we don't take it.
That's correct.
I asked about the timeline of the grants. I think that you guys clarified that, so I'm going to go back to that and look at my notes and maybe ask another time. I also asked about the terms of the grants, which, again, I'll look at that. Are there any other specific grants that can be used to upgrade septic or anything else? Has any of that been researched by you?
No.
It sounds like there might be.
No, but that's going to be that's on the table.
Perfect. Okay, regarding the proposed contracts, it sounds like we haven't actually signed anything. We're not committed to anything. Is that right?
No. We're moving forward on eminent domain.
We
but
can
it's-
reverse
we're
ourselves
not-
if we want to.
We can do it anytime we want.
Perfect. So just to be clear, the town has a provision in there that would keep keep the town and its tax-paying residents whole. There's some clause in there if we decide.
There's
don't wanna do
to a
it?
certain point, and
Okay.
we're still
Yep.
okay.
So if we sign a contract, that'll be part of it, right?
Yeah.
What?
Perfect. In the meeting last week, many community members requested that the council put a stop to the eminent domain process on Lake Street property and the work to find a location that is better suited to protect the town's residents and our investments. We were told it needed to be put on the agenda to have a formal vote. The majority, if not all of us, are here in an effort to stop the process and provide more time to make more informed decisions on the project. Surely would save us a whole lot of time and aggravation tonight if I just asked this question. Is the council able to vote on this today?
Maybe somebody has to make a motion, and we'll see.
Okay. If I sit down right now, is somebody gonna make a motion?
Motion to stay on
Well,
development.
we want to go ahead and, we want to talk everything through first.
You
Well,
don't have any
there's
standing.
going to be a motion.
Yes, me.
Okay, wait.
Can you tell me what my
You won't have to do it again now.
Okay.
You'll never do it.
Wait a minute, everybody, come on, please relax so we can get through this.
My questions have come from all of the residents in our community. I've gathered all of the information that's come through, and that's where these questions come from.
No, we appreciate it.
Are you aware that it's possible to split the plant between two parcels of land or more, which it sounds like we are? So,
What was the question?
are you aware that we can split the water treatment plant between two parcels of land?
Yeah,
We have an expert here that has told us that in Winter Garden, their ribs are in a coat and their plant is 4 miles away. So the opportunity to find another piece of land that might be more suitable sounds like it might be a little bit easier knowing that we can break it up.
well, one of the things we did, I can tell you, was we were looking at the Stetcher property. It wasn't big enough for the ribs, so we started looking at property in Ferndale, and we got down to a 25 acre parcel. You want to add to that?
Yeah, we did go out all the way into the Ferndale area. Of course, we have the troubles of the ISBA where we're not allowed to extend utilities out there, but I did look at 2 separate parcels, but we kept running into groundwater and wetlands. So that's really the biggest thing.
When you go down that hill, it's all wet. You step on the left side, but that person doesn't want to sell.
Yep.
Okay. I noticed in the community workshop presentation on February 2nd, 2023, the Osgood property was listed as paying into the cost of the site. I was under the impression that they would be responsible for building their own.
They could be, yeah. That hasn't been completely decided yet.
So the, yeah, what I have here clearly shows that it says that it would be paid for and we wouldn't have to pay for it. But the Osgood property is included in here.
They paid, I'm sorry, what was that paid for?
That's your invoice.
For,
It's not an invoice.
what was it for? I'm sorry.
So, Mayor, I could clarify it real quick for you probably and answer that. All the grant funds, the 28.8 that you see there, could only be used for existing septic to sewer hookups in the town. The Osgoods can pay for an expansion or the add-on or any new development would have to pay their share of what it would cost, which is going to be around $8,000 a house if they want to hook up is what the impact fee would be. So we can enlarge the plan a little bit to accommodate them, but we can't use the money for what's needed for existing residents.
The impact money has to be for new things. Can't be for maintenance and other items. It's for new items. Okay.
Understood.
What else you got?
When was it determined that the Stetcher property was not an ideal location?
The Stetcher property? Go ahead and answer that.
Remember?
Hold on, I'm almost finished. I'm almost finished, and I'll get that, I promise. What was your question again, please? When was the Stetcher property determined that it wasn't an ideal location?
We don't recall exactly, but I will say spring, probably February, March-ish, somewhere.
Of 2023, correct?
No.
So in February of 2023, in the meeting notes, Town Manager Lorino said we need to decide where the treatment plant is going to be if most of you do not want it on the Stetcher property. February 28th, 2023, sewer workshop. The PDF states the next steps are formal homeowner commitments. This comes before other steps that have been completed in the process. Where were the formal commitments? Because in the meeting, the mayor said that he would like to send certified mail to each resident, I believe, to gauge their interest. I never got a letter. Neither did I.
But I got a door hanger.
I did get a door knocker.
Yeah.
And then I have just one more thing. and this is difficult for me to say. I kind of went back and forth in thinking about doing it. But I was here early last Tuesday for the meeting because my husband had surgery and we needed to make sure he had a seat somewhere to sit. So we came a little bit early. And Paul, my question for you is, now that you know that there is a water sewer treatment plant going in right behind our neighborhood that we both live in, are you planning on selling your home?
No.
Okay, because I overheard a conversation where you were describing what your new transit time would be to work, and that was 25 minutes. So are you sure you're not planning on selling your home?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I think you're out of order now. Up to this point, I agreed with it. Now you're out of order. No.
All right.
Joe.
I told this gentleman he could come down real quick. Come on down. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. Behave. Come on, thank you. Please, do it for me, please. You need me to get the... No. Please, no. No. Please.
What did she say?
Please, Jim, could you? I know you're...
All right, let's try to keep focused so we don't have to call the meeting because we got everybody here and we want everybody to say what they want to say. That's a good idea. All righty. Well, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Agreed.
Come on, pay attention. Oh, I get to use this.
Joe, I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Let me make a motion.
You know, after a lot
No, wait. Wait a minute. Well, go ahead. Made a motion.
After listening to you guys for all this time, I realize now it was a mistake to put it at that spot. I told you that last week.
Listen.
Let me finish. And it's not because it's environmentally or protection of grasshoppers, which somebody said, or scrub jays or whatever. It was, we raised up the whole community against us.
Speak in that, please.
Now, we don't want the community against us. We're trying to sell a septic or a sewer system with the community support. Your opposition has really made it impossible. It's true. So the motion I'm going to make is that we cease trying to purchase this property and we go in another direction. Okay.
All right, wait a minute.
Do I have a second on my motion?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
I think it'll go along with what Mr. Renee is saying. Why have you only looked at, properties that are not available? Why don't you use the baseball?
It's a separate, it's in a different, it was donated, the land was given to the town in 1925, 28 or something, and we can't use it for anything but for a.
Okay, so the motion, let me speak. The motion that's on the table is that we put it to the side for now and not move forward on
We
the.
eliminate, we stopped this purchasing at this site.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean we're.
Okay, wait a minute.
We're still on the hook. We're still on the hook for trying to get.
All right, but I would
sewer
like,
system
I would
done.
like to add to his motion.
Okay.
That we also look at alternatives, which one alternative is to hook directly to Bella Colina. All right. Or the other alternative is to look at the septic tank improvements and see about getting grants for that. And this is going to be a long motion. And the reason for it is when I do the math, it's $15,000 for a 3-2 bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, normal house, $15,000. And you can even go to 700 homes, which we don't have. It's $10 million. So now we would task and see if we could get $10 million for that project. And the project would not just give one area sewer. It would give every home in Montverde the chance to hook up to a new septic that the state or the federal government or whoever will put it in your yard.
Amen.
Okay, but it
But we
does
don't
have,
know, we'll meet the new standards, but we'll try.
but we don't know if we're gonna get it, but that's what the motion is, okay?
Okay.
So that's a long motion.
Anita, did you hear my motion? Okay.
Okay,
Do we have
Wait a
a
minute.
second?
we already
We're out of
did.
order.
That's part of
Do
it.
we have a second?
Okay, we need a second. I second.
I'll second.
Let's vote.
Okay, can you do a roll call count, please?
Can we discuss it?
Yep, let's discuss it. Go ahead. Just, I'm sorry, you're right. We have to discuss it, I'm sorry.
I just have one question for the engineer.
Speak in the mic, please. Please.
Is Stetcher property mainly the size issue? I guess my question is, could additional property be taken and added to the Stetcher to make it work there?
Looked at that.
We did look at that. And when you say, is it primarily a size issue? Yes. Could you put a much smaller plant there? Yes, but then you're looking at another place to also put a plant.
No, I'm taking additional property that's next to the Stetcher.
So again, we looked at a lot of properties over in that area, none of which were suitable for
Well,
discharging that much in.
I know what he's talking about. He's looking at the 6 acres to the right of,
We did look at that as well. You brought it up to me, Mayor.
Right, I
So
brought
the-
it to them, too.
The primary purpose, or the primary issue was the steep drop off in the back in the wetland. That literally is right behind it.
all right, wait a minute, let me, I'm sorry, Roger, I have to get these people in line. Okay, but we got a motion on the table. I think it helps a lot of things that you guys are concerned about. So let's see where it goes. If it doesn't go anywhere, we'll keep going.
We
All
have a
right,
motion and a second.
I got a motion and a second, and we do a roll call vote, please.
Do a roll call.
Please read the motion. There's so
Well-
much commotion. I want to know what exactly.
The motion was for him, Jim said that he would like to postpone moving forward on,
That we cease attempting to purchase this piece of property and we go in another direction. Whether that means enhanced septic, whether or not that means sets or whatever, but we allow these citizens to go home.
I wanted to add that we enhance septic or connected to Bella Cleana is one of the two things that we could look at and see if we could get funding for both of those. So that's the motion. Can you do a roll call vote?
Have we finished discussion?
Oh, you go ahead if you want.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
7 years ago, Joe, when I was on P&Z and you brought us in, you were strong mayor back then. You had discussed Mineola, Claremont, and Bella Cleana, correct?
Right, Claremont's doesn't
Claremont
have-
didn't have capacity at the time, still doesn't. Mineola shut us down, said thank you, but no thank you. And the agreement with Bella Cleana, correct me, that's why I'm asking you, was that this was when Ginn and them were debating they were in the buyout, sellout, and so forth. And the issue was who controlled the lines. And the link we backed away from that was because we lost total control of our sewer system. We were also on the hook for whatever any of these three amenities chose to charge us.
Right, well.
Blank check, wait a minute,
okay.
blank check, they want to charge you $500 a month, that's what you're going to pay. You don't come back to the council and say, golly, why did you do that?
Okay.
That was the choices. So I wanted to see what the update was on it.
Okay, what it is when I say Bella Cleana, of course, if we were to go in and they would have to increase their capacity to even start to take on us. If they were interested in doing that, we would have to come up, Anita, and would have to get with them, and we would have to write a contract that we're comfortable with moving forward for at least 20 years with the step-ups all the way through there and if the costs are. And we can figure all that out if we go to that point. So all I'm saying is.
Grant money be used for that upgrade?
Yeah, the grant money, from what I'm being told, there's grant money to pipe it if we want to move that way, but we have to.
The money we have now could be used to upgrade.
I'm told by two representatives that the grant money we have can be moved. These guys are saying it can't be, but I'm just telling you what I was told. So, okay, but let's just say he's wrong. Let's just say he's not right, and these our people that we hire tell us it's right. Then we'll go for those grants. We'll try for those specific grants to do it. But right now, we have a motion on the table, so.
Okay, the motion is not
Are you done?
use The
Are you-
motion is not to use that site.
Right.
That was pretty clear.
So-
Again, can the grant money we have now be used to upgrade the Bella Cleanup plant? for our-
So-
No.
No. So, Mr. Peacock, we'd have to look in that because more than likely Bella Cleana, they will have to charge us the impact fees, which I think theirs are probably around 6,000 per home.
You don't want to do that.
There may be some opportunities to use some of that. We don't know, but as your staff, we will look at that more for
Right.
sure. The ARPA funds, more than likely, that one will have to get back to the county probably ASAP because it has to be bound up by the end of the year.
That's
We'll
where we have
we'll
our-
obviously talk with them and see if there's any other opportunities.
That's where we have our great
Yep.
commissioner help us out with.
So, and I know a lot of people in the back did not hear, and if I understand, the motion is to cease the purchase of the property and have staff explore the option of doing advanced septic systems or finding grants or using what we have, or also explore hooking up to another system with the grant money we have if we have time to do that, and time will be limited.
Yes, that, yes, that's the motion.
Okay.
Is
I
that,
just know a lot of
is that
people
okay,
have-
Anita? Okay, so let's do it. Let's vote.
One other question.
Oh, you got one? Okay.
Yeah,
No, the council.
we need a discussion on this. Let's have a discussion.
We
It's
just
in the
said,
motion.
we got that covered. We're stopping
in
the
the
whole
motion.
thing. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Alan. Alan, go ahead and finish your questions.
Sean, the ARPA money that we have, the $5 million, Paul and Sean, that money can be still, my understanding was that's for our engineering, correct? Or not?
It's for use for construction of the plan. It can be used for engineering as well. So that agreement would have to be amended in
Okay.
order to use it.
So that
for
5
other
million
purposes.
actually doesn't have, in one sense, does not have to be turned over by December 24th. We're in the process of engineering the surveying, correct? That's been $1 million?
It has to be, the total amount has to be encumbered by the end of 2024, just like our ARPA funds do. And encumbered means it has to be under contract or somehow committed, or committed, stacked in a way. So we have to have a plan by the end of
Right,
the
so
year.
we just
or
got to
need
get
give
the
it
county
back.
commissioners to agree with the 4 million we got left, so we have 4 million out of the 10 million we need right now.
Or 5 million.
Well, the total was 5 million, right?
Correct.
And we already spent $1 million.
Million, correct.
Okay, so, and 700 of it was doing a survey for the town with everything. So we do have, I don't know, about $4 million left of that we can put towards the $10 million it'll take to put advanced septic systems in every single person's house in Mount Vernon.
No, that, you just said that 4 million has to be turned in by December 24th.
It has to be obligated. It has to
Okay.
be spoken for, allocated,
Thank
but
you. Let me-
not spent, totally spent. We have to say this is what we're going to do with it.
And to be clear, staff will have to look into that, get with the county manager. So I want to be clear, but we'll report back to you at the next meeting
Okay.
if we can use
Okay,
those funds
that's
for
fine.
anything. I don't want to
All
promise
right.
anything.
We have
I
it.
don't make the motion lightly, but
No.
I understand the environmental and I understand the engineering, but I also understand the political.
It's
And
personal.
so you can't have half the town rejecting you, or a third.
If you would,
We'll
please,
go another route.
please do the
Do the
roll
roll.
call.
Vice Mayor Peacock.
Yes.
Councilmember Hartle.
No.
Councilmember Lay.
Yes.
Councilmember Womack.
Yes.
Mayor Wynkoop.
Absolutely. That's it.
Thanks for coming.
So that's what's going to go on from
Okay.
here on forward. It stopped, everything stopped.
my best offer.
Now we're going to go back and do our homework on those 2 items. You can speak. Yeah, yeah. Wait a minute, let this young lady speak. Please let her
a little
speak.
more.
Please, come on.
Okay. Stand up close, speak loud.
Let her speak, let her speak.
All right.
Come on, give her a chance.
Stand up
Give this,
close.
please give this lady a chance to
Speak up
talk.
nice and loud.
Okay.
Speak up nice and loud.
Go
Sit
ahead,
on
so
top of it.
please.
So I have a question, just in case it comes back to the engineers. Is the plant, no matter where you build it, going to be big enough for expansion, or is it just for the 600, if I have the right number of septic tanks right now?
And if it's just for now, because I know grants give you just, you're estimating whatever right now, how do we get funds later for more growth? Because there is still pockets in Montverde that are gonna wanna build houses.
Well, let me help you with that. One of my personal goals, and I know this council is in favor of it and does it, is we have 2 spots left. Rest of it's little 5 acres and 3 acre spots.
And there's up by us.
There's
by the water tower.
58 acres on Ridgewood that Bella Collina owns. They're already in talks with us about 2 homes per acre. So that should get built out. And there's the one out down, the 111 acres down on the shoreline. And here's what, I know nobody was here when we did the whole 111 acres, but real quick, watch the math here. 111 acres, 30 is wet, so it's wet. So that leaves 80, and they need 20% of that to do roads and retention. So that leaves about 60-something. So they have 60-something acres to build houses on. But our rules are 2 homes per acre of the 111, so they technically could get 222 homes. We voted here a while back that each home that they build on that 60 acres has to have at the minimum a half acre. So that automatically put it at 128 homes. We sent it to the state because it wasn't our future land use. We sent it to the state and the state said yes, right? And it came back, they agreed with us, so right here and now, the best they can do is 130 homes. So we got 58 acres over here, Bella Collina building, and 111 acres is going to have about 130 homes on it. Everything else inside of Montverde is tiny. It's not to worry about. They can't build apartments.
So I'd like to go to a chart that Paul put together for one of the presentations, just because of the budget, might be changing and everything. Potential costs that say they're going to be free. So here we go. Will the Taylor grant truly include the 100% hookup from the road sewer line to where the septic line connects to everyone's house?
We don't know.
Okay. And then is the town grant going to pay 100% for everyone's complete decommissioning of their septic tank, which entails the hiring of a septic contractor to fill everyone's septic tank with clean sand or gravel or concrete, and then breaking and compacting the tank, or just removing the tank? Then what happens to all of our drain fields? This septic tank decommissioning endeavor can cost $5,000 or more a house. Is the town's grant truly going to pay the 100% entire sewer line connection, expensive septic drain field decommissioning, plus paying for resodding, sprinkler repair, replanting of bushes, gardens, fence repair, rebuilding of landscaping, retaining walls, at no charge and no extra hidden fees?
If we move forward, if we can get the money to move forward with the special septic tanks, I've read enough about it in the last 2 days that it would take out your old one, put it in a new one, and anything they did, they interrupted, they would fix.
You're saying with the enhanced
Yeah.
one, you're saying do that instead?
Well, that's where our focus is right now.
And I agree, and that was an option from the state of Florida, to septic or to be enhanced. But
Right.
you said it's 60,000 almost property.
Yeah, well, it's, no, it's 15 for the system, and then to hook it up is 15.
And then you said monthly monitoring, so
The monitor is $60 a month.
you have to pay for that as well.
$60 a month. But you don't have to pay for sewage.
No,
Yeah, right.
I don't know yet. I mean,
Thank you.
we'll have to-
Okay, yes, sir. Let's be respectful here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for recognizing me. I have a question for the rep here from Woodard and Curran. Did you guys lobby for a grant that was gonna provide money to Montverde for the sewer system in 2022?
Probably. I mean, I can't tell you the year, but that's part of what we do, is we try to secure money on behalf of our clients for projects like this.
So I assume that you guys have lobbied for the most recent grants that Montverde received then?
I wouldn't exactly say lobby in every case. A lot of these are simply just filling out applications to the funding agencies who issue those funds.
Okay, so I want to bring something up to the council members. None of us knew that Woodard and Curran was the only, well, we knew that they were the only ones that submitted an RFP. Why? Why aren't there other companies? Why are we going with the first one? Why? Because on file, there is that they lobbied for a bill in 2022. It got struck down, they didn't go any further. So to me is that this deal with Woodard and Curran has already been done, right? So my concern is why can't we get second opinions, go with other companies, see what they have to say? They're the only ones that submitted an RFP for a really massive project.
No, that's not true.
No, that's not
Paul, why don't you
true.
answer that?
There's only
Yeah.
one posted
Oh, go
on the
ahead.
website for the RFP.
The RFP we wrote, we're not responding to that. That's going to be for contractors to respond to.
Yeah, it's different, yeah.
That's not an RFP for us to respond
Are
to.
you talking about the RFP that's on line right now? Yeah, so that's the request for proposal for the wastewater treatment plant. So Woodward and Kern put the RFP together. It's publicly advertised, and we did have a conference call and had over 17 different contractors, at least 17 different contractors respond and show interest during the first call.
Okay.
So yeah, we have to follow very strict guidelines and regulations.
Were other consultants reached out to or spoken to at any point?
Consultants for the wastewater treatment plant?
Contractors, I think you mean. For the folks who we expect to respond to that RFP, Sean, how many did we talk to?
Around 20.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let me answer this. In the state of Florida, there's again very strict guidelines when we go out for engineering services or specialty service such as architects. We have to again put out a RFP, actually an RFQ, a request for qualifications. In this case with them, we review them, we rank them, we bring them for council at a public meeting, and they do the final selection, then we use them. So that whole process is public. We did the same thing for the architect for the library and any professional services that reach a certain threshold.
Yeah, all the major vendors.
Yeah.
All the major vendors, this council decides.
Okay, well, again, it's just, I would say something this massive would need second opinions, period.
Yeah,
Talk to several companies.
I can defend it because in the last 20 years, I've seen three, you guys, Unita and Sean been with us a long time. I've seen 4 different ones come through here, and a lot of them were a pretty big mess, and they were local companies. So I'm happy with Woodard and Kern, but they don't do anything unless we okay it. So it's our fault if it's wrong. It's not theirs.
All right, move on. 2 other things. No lift stations were spoken about in your presentation. I would say for the council members to put emphasis on getting the community input on those lift stations.
We're not doing any right now.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying like in the future, if
Yeah.
it goes that way, it's just.
Please,
Show up at the meetings.
please come to the meetings. Please come to the meetings. Every newsletter, I ask people to come to the meetings.
All these discussions we
Please.
have over and over and over.
Okay, let me add the next person.
And then the last thing that I just want to say is, I hope this is a lesson, practically for everyone, but from here on out, to move forward with more transparency.
Yeah.
Montverde does a great job in advertising the Light Up Montverde, the Easter egg hunt. Why can't you advertise things like this more publicly other than posting?
Well, it's to be fair, we do it the exact same way for every topic. But we could have done a better, I agree, we could have done a better
We
job.
all agree we could have done better on this.
We agree, we're not arguing that.
I'd like to make a motion on this. I think the town, we have a problem. We've discussed it with residents and with us, that we don't have an adequate website. I think whatever the cost, this business of, well, let's patch it together, isn't working. We need to contract this out, put it out for bids, and 3 questions need to be asked. What can you do for us? How long will it take? And how much is this going to cost? It is not going to be a $300 job. No. First grader will do that for us. I've talked with a representative this past week from Ocoee. They had the same situation we did 15 years ago, and it was tearing their town apart because you couldn't find anything where you needed it to find it. She told me, it's expensive. Great. I don't care. It needs to be done so that you can find it. If you look at some of our residents, communities around us, Ocoee has a very good one now, in my opinion, from what I'm looked at. Click on the city of Ocoee, it shows up, then it shows you a page of anything you want. DEI, planning and zoning, and it shows you everything that's coming up, that's proposed. It looks similar to Lake County's page that they publish. It needs to be done for our town. I think this has been, my opinion, one of the stumbling blocks that we've had, that everybody says, I can't find it, I look for it, where is it? I didn't know about it, I found out about it too late. It needs to end. This day and age of AI and everything else, we can't get a website to work. That's pathetic. And I would like to make a motion that our town, we invest and authorize Paul to investigate and open that up for contract so it can come back to us so we can finish this thing and do it right.
I'll second you.
It's not on the agenda, so we really need to put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
But
I will bring,
for
I will
you.
withdraw and
Okay.
mention that next Tuesday
No.
night.
Good idea. We'll get it on the agenda for next Tuesday. All righty, come on up, sir.
I don't want to belabor it, I just wanted to have a
Good.
question for the engineers. With regard to the stretcher property, I heard you talk about topography not being adequate. Is there any possibility with that property to do cuts and fills, to bring it up to?
We looked at that.
You did look at that?
Use the mic, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did look at that. I mean, we had every intent to try to use that property if we could. We looked at all kinds of options. Definitely cut and fill was something we looked at, also sort of terracing the ribs. The problem that you run into is because of the slope, because of the grade there, you end up daylighting. We did a lot of water modeling to look at that, hydrology, and we just couldn't get it to work. It's just not possible with that site.
Come on up, Larry. Thank you very much. Come on up.
I had this speech that I was going to deliver, and now it's kind of.
All
right. We got what we wanted.
Yes, sir.
But folks, and I'm talking to all my residents, all my neighbors here, we got to hold these people to the fire here. They didn't. I've looked at that sewer project. There was nothing there, nothing. So there's some deceptive stuff that's been going on here. So we need to come out here on a regular basis and make sure they do what they say.
All right, come on, we have a meal with it too.
That's right, we'll feed you dinner.
We're gonna make sure that this eminent domain is stopped.
It stopped. The council just said stop.
Okay.
It stopped.
Thank you.
But we gotta keep their feet to the fire, folks.
Come to the
I would
meeting.
love, I would love for this room to be this full every meeting. Love it, I would love it. Hey, yeah, go Larry, Larry,
You to it.
Larry.
Oh, now
Okay.
another one.
Okay,
We
let's,
will come get you if
anybody
you don't
else?
show up.
Last words.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
One quick question. I spoke to the mayor the other day. I mentioned about the 32-acre lot for sale by Montverde Academy, and our conversation was that the engineering firm looked at it, but it was going to cost $1.8 million to get it to work. So I'm wondering, is that true or is that not true? If we're spending all $28 million and it's all accounted for. Are there other properties here, including that Montverde Academy plot of 32 acres, that we could fill? And where did the $1.8 million to make it work?
It was a number we got many years ago. It was before Paul.
So that's another one of these.
Is that the site on 455 you're talking about?
Yeah, it's the one that
Yeah.
goes down.
Yeah, so if you'll pull up the Lake County GIS, you'll notice right past where they mowed, and kind of behind that fence where they used to have the truck there, it starts the wetland, and so we have the same problem. And really, the wetland it's two concerned that when we looked at these sites. One is obviously the higher groundwater and the modeling, but we also know all these wetlands are basically discharged to Lake Apopka. And with the Lake Apopka Springs, they're going to the new law that Marianne showed you isn't going to allow for future discharge, and more than likely they're going to include some of those wetlands in the area. So again, it really has been wetland and topography. We've been banging our head against the wall is really why that's been going.
Last thing. The way the process has gone, a lot of us are here because we didn't learn. Going forward, regardless of the website we build or whatever, could you make sure that the notice goes out in the newsletter? And at some point, it'd be nice to have an email chain where, we get emails when updates come up instead of having to come every Tuesday.
Well, we're going to put the website together and advertise it. Yes, sir.
Quick question. On average, how much did a project like this cost 5 years ago?
I mean, I can only judge that based on the escalation that we've seen. I mean, if it's 20% less.
And today, how much do you think something like this would be?
Well, I mean, our objective has been to maximize the use of $28 million in free money.
And in 5 years, when the state says that the septic tanks probably aren't going to meet our standards?
Yeah, I mean, you can project that further. I think the risk that you take on is that the cost is 20% more depending on when you do it, unless, yeah.
All of us potentially could be on the hook for a lot of money.
Yes.
Possible.
Yes, but I've said it.
I got a quick
Yeah,
question.
come on up.
Quick question.
Let me oh, yeah, go ahead. I forgot you.
I don't think I really need this, but okay. Hello?
To get to that.
So, just want to, real quick, the first question is, all the new building that's going on right now, what is the criteria for their septic and their systems? What is their criteria for the new
You
buildings?
mean in Mineola?
In Montverde?
Like
the building?
Yeah, the Osgood property, they probably will have to put their own package treatment plant in town.
Okay. The second thing is, when you say Florida in the future is going to require specific systems, you don't necessarily mean it's going to require a sewer system going to a treatment plant. It's possible that the future would also be enhanced septic tanks that would be also appropriate?
It's possible. All we're trying to do is appraise the risk of one versus the other.
I get that.
So, yes.
So-
No one can tell you today what the regulation is going to be.
So
in 5
what
years.
makes a septic tank enhanced other than preventing the leakage that comes from the tank? What other things?
It's not preventing the leakage, it's the treatment technology inside the tank.
Paul, can you put that on there?
Put that up there.
I sent Paul an example of a video from a company that does.
Mayor?
Yep.
We haven't been able, this is not hooked to the system, so I can't pull it up on this computer.
And one more thing, if
Sorry.
you guys look at the causes of phosphates and nitrates, or nitrites or nitrogen, there are many.
Yeah.
And by the way, the rain runoff on the streets causes that to happen. Erosion causes that to happen. Septic tanks, I'd be willing to bet you, are not the majority of that happening. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, the only response I can have to that is we don't know. We have to follow the guidance of DEP, and they're the ones you'd have to convince to get away with
But it brings up a
do
good
something
question,
else.
a good
Yeah.
point. We need to teach the residents of Mount Bird what else they can do
Yeah.
to lower the, whether it's not wash their driveways into the street, whatever.
Sure.
There is one council person, I won't mention that person's name, that I would challenge everybody out here. How many of you pump your septic tanks? This person does it every 4 years as an election thing because it reminds him of that. So that's one way to keep your system healthy, is that every 4 years right. So I thought that was pretty
Paul,
good.
to answer the gentleman's question about
Yeah.
stormwater.
Oh, yeah, so
We have a stormwater
the
system.
question that you had asked, and we had touched on it earlier about the enhanced systems. Why they're called enhanced is because they not only reduce the bacteria and handle bacteria like the conventional systems do, but they also remove the nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus.
Oh, no, I get that. I get that. Trust me.
But we can't in the future say that those are going to meet the standards. We don't know in our crystal ball what that's going to be.
Wonderful.
We can only
Even better to put this off until we figure it out. And then
Yeah.
the other,
Yeah, and
wait a
as
second.
the can down the road.
One more thing. Is it for the water guys? Wouldn't Lake Florence show the leakage before Lake Apopka?
Yeah.
No, but listen to me. What I'm saying is you can actually study Lake Florence to see if in fact there's a problem.
We do.
Yeah, we have, we do.
We do.
Because it'll
We
leak
do.
there before it leaks into Lake
We
Apopka, right?
study Lake Florence right now. No. Can you give this gentleman the microphone? I've been promising him for an hour now. And this young man here has been taking care of Lake Florence.
Thank you. So, Council,
20
thank you for
years.
at least
For
taking a
years.
pause. What we haven't done, though, is solved Mary Ann's presentation issue of lowering the total daily load that we don't know yet. So while you're here, can you help at least give some idea of, so there's 100,000 pounds across the whole lake, which we have a very small portion of, but some crystal ball guess of what that number may be for our town, and then what other things we can do to meet that number. If we're using our 50% enhanced tanks, how much does the runoff from 455 going into Lake Florence impact that? What else can the council consider that might move us in that direction to make that reduction?
Okay. Let me see that.
There we go, that's better. Oh, so, right up my alley. Here's what we're all going to do. Number one, we are not spending money on fertilizer anymore. Woo! Excellent. We don't, so that's one of our best management practices. It is, yeah, how do you confirm that? So, number one, you're all here tonight, and you all obviously care about your neighborhood, and you care about the environment in which you live. We're not called Lake County for nothing, people. We're not called Lawn County. We're called Lake County, which I might add is better than the Mosquito County we almost got named. So just saying. Eliminating the use of fertilizer. If you are cutting back on your let's say you're fertilizing right now 6 times a year. How about you, I have never been booed before, thank you.
You got to know one thing, you got to be educated about fertilizer, not just eliminate it totally. How about using the right fertilizer?
Exactly. So if you are currently fertilizing 6 times a year, why don't you cut back to 5 times and see how, the reason you're fertilizing is because you want your plants to look a certain way. Let's give them a little less and see how they do, because you can spend your money elsewhere. Let's minimize the use of fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides to what we just need. One of the ladies mentioned, why don't we do some more native plantings? Obviously, we all know that native Florida plants need less of all of those chemical assistances than non-native plants do. So there's a lot of options there. And having been a master gardener since 1999, you work on these things. You don't have to completely eliminate it, but when shouldn't you use it? In the summertime. When shouldn't you use it? Before a heavy rain. All of those things make an impact. We are a community of many people. We're not just one person. And even moving to enhanced septic, remember that reduction? It's still only 50%, folks. You still have nutrients going into your soil. So all of those things are an impact. Additional things, finding land for more stormwater ponds so you can pre-treat that. Putting in next generation baffle boxes to help with additional stormwater runoff nutrient reduction. There's many things. As I mentioned before, it's not just one thing. It is best management practices, plural, not just one thing. It's everything that you do makes an impact for the better or the worse.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, does everybody want to go home? Yes. Okay, come on up. Yeah, let him come up. It's his first time.
It's my first time. So my question is, are we revisiting other parcels within the town limits? Because
We don't need them right now because we're looking at two other things.
my concern is if we do move forward on another piece of parcel, I don't
No.
know if everybody will show up.
We're not moving forward with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
And,
You're welcome.
And to reinforce that, we don't have the time under the grants to do another wastewater treatment plant. There's just no time, so most of the grants
Right.
will have to give them back anyway. So.
Right, it's pretty much dead.
Okay, excellent.
The what?
There's no bids out. It's out to bid, but there's no contracts.
That don't.
Request for bids.
No big deal.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay.
If Jim and I can get along, and we can use the democratic process to move things forward, let's give it a hand.
So the only thing that I can offer, I don't like to just say don't do this and not offer a solution, but you have an entire town full of people who have expertise in some of these areas. So if you're not sure what questions to ask, maybe we can put together like a community forum where we come and sit down and talk to you about whatever direction you're going.
Let me add to that.
People can add.
I've said this in many, many meetings. We have a lot of talent in our town. I did something for 40 years. Everybody here has done something for 20, 30 years. When you look at our agenda and you see something that you can help with, come to the meeting. I want you to come to the meeting. I want you to come and eat dinner. We serve 6 to 7. Eat dinner. Talk to each other. Talk to the council people. Come up, and when that subject comes up, please sit up and talk. You know, we need it. Because we're a little town. We're 5 people. We don't know everything.
Well, let us know when you need help, because we want to be involved.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank all of you guys for coming out. You obviously know you made a difference. Come again next week.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that motion. I really appreciate it. Next week, you need to do a motion. Next week, I was going to suggest doing another motion to, if we end up doing a plant like that, do not do it within 1,000 yards of any neighborhood or another house, if that's possible.
We're building out town. We don't have any this way.
I'm just
So if we
saying,
have to go another way, let's go another way.
if it has to be in a neighborhood or next to a house.
I need to start coming again. I'll see you, man. Hug it out. Hug it out. Stay married. Don't lose it.